Hey everyone, and welcome back to the news. Yes, something actually happened that we can talk about, which is pretty cool, but only half the show is going to be about news. I do have some other interesting things to talk about. Mainly, I realized that it's April, it's been 6 months since Warlords of Draenor, and we haven't seen a 6.2 PTR yet, so I think it's about time we did some date speculation. But first, WoW Token. Well, the token feature that was added in patch 6.1.2 has finally been activated in the Americas. I'm not 100% sure on the times, but it should be roughly open by the time you see this video if you're in the US or I believe, say, Australia, or somewhere like that. I'm pretty sure New Zealand counts as well. Now, what's really juicy about all this is that we finally know the pricing details, which is really good. They are apparently going to vary by region, but the initial stuff does give us a little bit of a rough idea. So, the price of a token itself is $20 or 25 Australian dollars, which is, I think, something we already knew actually, but that's a $5 premium over a regular subscription, which is generally in line with similar kind of token systems in loads of other games like Plex, Ineve, and Cred and Wildstar. Now, I've seen some people be frustrated over this, but it doesn't get to me that much. It just seems to make sense somehow, because I don't know if having WoW Token be the baseline thing, I don't know if that would be the most sense. Anyway, let's talk about the really interesting thing, which is, of course, the actual gold value. Now, this is going to fluctuate based on the market value, but Blizzard are starting off at 30,000 gold. This means that you are looking at an equivalent of 1,000 gold being 66 cents. Now, that's kind of odd, because I looked at third-party websites, and on a bunch of different servers, I found that the average price for 30,000 gold is about $20 to $22. So essentially, Blizzard are price matching the third-party gold sellers. Now, overall, this basically means that WoW Token is initially going to be competing equally in terms of price. It also, of course, is safe. It should be reasonably quick, both for buying and selling, and I think overall just offers far more, well, security and stuff like that, as opposed to the third-party sites, which are the same price, may steal your credit card, may not. There's some sketchy stuff going on there, I'm sure, at least from what I've heard. And yeah, it does seem a lot like WoW Token is just quite simply the way to go. The third parties will certainly have to slash down prices to compete, and even at that, I think people are probably willing to pay a good chunk more to do things the official way. The amount of sunk cost in terms of raw hours that goes into our World of Warcraft accounts. I mean, if you think of what the minimum wage in your country is, you know, especially in some countries with a higher minimum wage, and then plot that out on your World of Warcraft game time, yeah, there's a big perceived sunk cost there, and I don't think people are going to, as long as there is an official option available, sort of put a massive risk on their account if they can't just go and buy gold in the safe and sort of approved manner. Now, what's interesting, of course, is what is going to happen with prices over time. Honestly, I think they might creep up just a little bit. Gold is just so very easy to get these days. Garrison missions alone equal 1,000 gold, sometimes even more per day for a single character. The economy must be getting majorly bloated with all this just crazy gold generation that's going on. I mean, it's the equivalent of mining up how much ore, and it just seems to happen passively with the treasure hunter trait. It's kind of insane. So yeah, I've got to imagine that spending and stuff like that is going to really increase between WoW tokens sort of stimulating the economy and taking some of the money out of the coffers of people who are sitting around with 2 million gold or something like that. Yeah, there should be more of a stimulus on the economy, and perhaps things like the black market auction house might see a bit more competition, because for many people that was completely unobtainable because maybe they only played a few hours a week or something like that because of their job, but now they can turn that job time into gold, which they can then splash onto the black market auction house. So if you're in another region, maybe now is the time to start looking at the BMAH if you want to buy some stuff, because there will be more competition when Token comes out, by my estimation anyway. Now, the current price, honestly for me, seems like a bit of a steal for getting game time, given that buying game time for gold is aimed at the people who are going to be playing lots of World of Warcraft. I've seen some people say that it's not a great deal. Well, here's the thing. If you're playing WoW a few hours every day, you are going to get that, you know, the 30,000 a month and more with absolute ease if you're playing your cards right. For someone who has got, you know, hardly any time, but, you know, still wants money in-game, I suppose the other side of the coin is a pretty okay deal, and that really just comes down to personal finances and how much money is, you know, worth to somebody. I can't really see myself selling them, because for me, doing garrisons once per day isn't really much of a problem, so I'm kind of okay for in-game gold. But if you're only able to play the game twice a week, yeah, maybe it makes a lot of sense to purchase tokens and then sell them in the auction house. Now, in terms of purchasing, there is a limit. You can purchase a maximum of 10 in a 30-day period, but they did say they were open to tweaking that. So overall, I suppose I'm just very keen to see how these prices vary by region. Perhaps it might give us some insights into how playstyles and stuff like that differ across the world, which would be kind of cool to find out. Now next, let's hop onto something which is a lot more trivial but also really cool. Azeroth Armory. There's not a lot to say here, but essentially, they got the crew from Man-at-Arms to make a particular weapon. In this case, it was Gorehowl. I don't know if they'll do any more of them, but certainly I think it was a pretty damn badass product integration as far as they go. And I want to make 2 points here. A, it's absolutely great, go watch it. And B, it was so much more natural and fitting to the intellectual property than, say, Azeroth choppers. There was no manufactured drama for the sake of tension, it was just a bunch of people making a really cool bit of art, which I think is something that would appeal a lot more to the general Warcraft player base. Do we really care that some random guy had fake personal drama, which meant that he had to leave at week 3 of Azeroth choppers, causing fake tension? No, none of us care about that. All we care about's the cool bike or the cool axe, and I think the cool axe is going to appeal to more people because it's kind of what we're into. Though I suppose, cool cars and bikes are obviously, well, pretty cool things. That's really all I wanted to say about this, just that it's a really great thing that you should watch, and I hope Blizzard take a bit of a lesson from this and don't do cheesy things like Azeroth choppers. Now, if you're not aware, the people who run the show do another thing called Man-at-Arms, in which they recreate loads of pop culture weapons and things like that. They actually did Frostmourne a good while back, and it's really worth checking out if you want something to perhaps binge watch and kill some time. That said, there was one thing which I found to be rather amusing in my head. Azeroth choppers came in the middle of a complete content drought, and so did Azeroth Armory. I do find that a bit odd, and speaking of timing and droughts and things like that, let's hop on to the final topic for today. And that is just some talk about dates. Now, I did some hard-hitting investigative journalism by going into MMO Champion and heading back to around page 150 and looking at the various dates of the major patches of Mists of Pandaria, because I want to just think a little bit about when patch 6.2 will come out, because that's something that I think is, we all want to know. So, Warlords of Draenor came out on the 11th of November, and it's now the 7th of April. That's nearly 6 months. Tier 17 began on the 2nd of December, and therefore it's a bit over 5 months old. We find ourselves sitting here, then, with no PTR, and not much news about the future of the game. However, I do think it'll come, we'll get some news pretty soon. What scares me, though, a bit, is that the PTR process for a large patch usually takes over 2 months, often 3. Patch 5.4's PTR lasted from early June to early September, and patch 5.2's PTR started on the 3rd of January 2013, and the patch came out on March the 5th, both of which were 3 months long. Now, Blizzard did say that ideally they want a 6-month-long raid tier, so at this rate, they'd be sort of missing their mark a little bit, and of course the raid tier's not the be-all end-all. For many people, it has been, from November to now, not a great deal going on. So, if 6.2 hit PTR this week, I'd say we'd probably be looking, realistically, at a July release for the patch. Since I don't really count 6.1 as having content that would really bring people back into the game or have a great amount of broad appeal, that would be 8 months after the launch of Warlords of Draenor. Suffice to say, I hope they really surprise us and have a already well-tested, reasonably timed PTR that just pops out the door in 1.5 to 2 months. Though even at that, I can't see there being much of a reason to stay subscribed other than raiding and PvP, and well, the PvP seems pretty iffy at the minute from everything that I've heard from many, many different people. So yeah, the giveaway I suppose is realistically, I think, patch 6.2 will be coming out in about 3 months' time, give or take a week or two, and the optimist inside me is secretly hoping 2 months, but if you look at the past, well, the past says it's about 3 months for a major patch like this. And yeah, it is a bit of a downer, I suppose, which is sad. I think many people like to think that I enjoy ragging on Blizzard. That couldn't be further from the truth. You know, my own success is kind of tied into World of Warcraft, I suppose more than it should be. I should really do other videos and other things. But, you know, the better the game's doing, the better I'm doing, and quite frankly, when there's a lot of buzz going on in World of Warcraft, that's when I've got the most videos to make and cool stuff to talk about. So no, I do want World of Warcraft to do well, and a lot of my critique videos are specifically for that purpose, to try to stimulate a bit of a discussion about the design of the game. It just seems like we're in a little bit of an odd period. Now that said, there are plenty of other really good games. You know, there's Grand Theft Auto 5, which I might even do a video coming out soon. Heroes of the Storm is a lot of fun. There's Blackrock Mountain, there's City Skylines, there's Bloodborne if you've got a PS4. There's a lot of cool games out at the minute, so I suppose World of Warcraft not being perfect isn't the be-all end-all, but I mean, certainly as a World of Warcraft subscriber who ideally, you know, loves World of Warcraft, maybe, you know, I'd like a little bit more. That said, BRF is a lot of fun. It's just that I kind of would like to do stuff outside of BRF, and there's not a great deal of that. Yeah, weird. Anyway, that's basically it for this video. Let me know what you think about all these things that are going on with the game. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.